There are a couple of questions. The first was from Joanna Cummings. Joanna, you're, I think, welcome to unmute and ask your question live if you'd like. And while you're doing that, I want to apologize for running a little bit late. That is all on me. I'll do a better job managing time next time.
Because this is webinar format, participants cannot unmute.
Okay, I'll ask the question for Joanna then. The question was, I think for Phil, it was during your presentation, Phil, how are cell walls removed without damaging the actual cells?
Yes, very carefully. Yeah, we use a mixture of enzymes, of cellulases and pectinases, and it's tricky. And yes, it's very tricky, but it can be done. I don't know if I can go into there's no one secret. It's a question of balancing the osmolarity of the media and just controlling the timing very carefully so you don't over digest them, and controlling how long they've been grown between transfers and stuff like that. It's just establishing the routine very carefully.
Thank you. And Hans, you had a question. You're a panelist, so go ahead and unmute if you can, Hans.
Yep. So the question, I think that question I might hold off, except that can you hear me? It was still basically that, it seems like this the structure of the sporangia really helps initiate that whole process. The question is, in my mind, as the sporangia develops, as the sperm and egg progress more, I'm assuming other factors take over. So is that true? And is it a mix of things? Yeah,
absolutely true. And of course, once the switch is made, there's a whole cascade of intracellular changes that occur. Massive transcription changes go on, and it's totally yes. Many other changes, biochemical and genetic, go on after that. Yeah.
Thank you. And Guy Roberts has a question in the Q&A box, and I think primarily for Heather, came in during Heather's presentation. Is the soil microbiome impacted by climate change? Does this impact grassland productivity and quality?
Yes, it's not something that I have studied, but there definitely is research ongoing really focused on the soil microbiome and how it's being impacted by climate change, but also certainly how it can help protect plants during climate change as well. And I think, we didn't have tons of time to talk about management, but one of the components here is, better soil management to make sure those crops are growing, during stress. And creating that really good soil health environment helps crops overcome some of those issues.
Thanks, Heather.
I had a question for Heather, actually.
Please.
Heather, I just wondered, can you establish any kind of relationship between the size of the farms that are sort of grass-fed farms, just the size of them and their vulnerability? It almost seems like the larger the farm, the more cattle you're trying to feed, the more vulnerable you would be to these drought events and things like that. I'm asking if this is sort of potentially heading towards a breakup of larger farms into smaller farms or something like that.
Yeah, not necessarily. I don't know if there's an increased risk due to scale. I mean, oftentimes larger farms also have more land base, might have the ability to, harvest more timely. So I don't think there's a direct connection there necessarily. Yeah.
Great, thank you. It looks like we have a break in the questions, and I do want to launch a quick poll. This is a very simple poll just to try to see, get a sense for how this format is working for folks. Please take a moment and respond. I also, while folks are responding to that, again, I want to thank Phil and Heather for getting us kicked off in a really fantastic way with this series. I really appreciate you both, joining us for this experiment, if you will, and really appreciate the work you put into sharing your perspectives and work with us. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Chris.
Yeah, pleasure.
Yeah, thanks, Chris.
I have a quick question that actually connects these two presentations potentially. Is there time, or are we copping off?
Go ahead, Hans.
So obviously choosing varieties for changing climate. Heather, you talked a lot about that, management strategies. Part of the management strategy